Lunchbox is brought to you by Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market.
Hold the Mayo. It's time for Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. Find out what's being served with Mike, Defo and Lubie, the only show that covers food, sports, and the proper maintenance of your car. And now, a man who had the distinction of having an entire health clinic named in his honor, Mike Mayo.
I want the flim sauce with the awesome bay, with shafafa on the side.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. It's a home show today on a stormy Wednesday. We are seeing some of the outer cells, way outer cells of Hurricane Milton as the West Coast hunkers down and prepares for a big one. Jeff Defo DeForest, you said you had a weather report for us. What's happening?
I should have the executioner's mask on like I was Brian Norcross when he was doing the weather reports, but didn't he look like Bernard Hopkins coming into the ring before they made that socially unacceptable? The enormity of this is hard to comprehend sometimes, but I'm just out of my walk of life. I just got back. I still have a little bit of schwitz in my hair. And this thing's 100 and something miles off of Tampa. It's not really going to impact here directly in any way. And yet you're already seeing the indications of tropical storms and hurricane type of winds and cloud formations forming here. And I have to say, I tell you what, I would not want to be in the path of this thing.
Oh, no way.
And it never ceases to amaze me the extent and the depth and the breadth of the impact of these storms. It really is incredible, mind-boggling. And for those that are in the direct path, wow. I know thoughts and prayers, that's so trite, but get the fuck out of there. I'm sorry to curse, but please, I hope nobody's in the path of this thing, and it's going to be rough.
It's one of those things where, depending on where it makes landfall and whether you're north or south of the eye wall will predicate how bad the storm surge is. And without getting all the intricacies, it's going to be a big one. And for the people, basically all the way from Tampa south to about Fort Myers, they have to be prepared for the utter worst. And I have friends actually, friends who used to work at the Sun Sentinel who lived and worked in Tennessee for a long time that just moved. Him and his new wife, they bought a house in Bradenton, which is just south of St. Pete. Now they're in the zone 4, which is like 15 miles inland, so they're not required to evacuate. He was considering going back to Tennessee. He hit me up if he could stay at my house. And I said, well, my house is now sold and it's underwater, literally, because flooding in that block. But no, the flooding hasn't been bad there in Dania since Saturday. So no effects, thankfully, from this storm. But I'm in a new house where it's not my position to invite people, considering that we've got all kinds of already evacuees from North Carolina in town. And some have been, not staying at Val's, but coming over here. And the grandkids are off from school today. So they're going to be over here after the show to hunker down. But no, you mentioned the good old days, not good old days. Brian Norcross, who obviously with Tony
He's
Segredo.
still active. I didn't realize that. He's with Fox News now.
Is he now? Wow.
Yeah, he's like their chief hurricane forecaster with Fox News
Yeah,
until Trump gets elected and eliminates all hurricane forecasts and all mention of hurricanes and possible dangerous, damaging things that could happen from global warming.
I imagine the private ones will still be allowed, especially the ones from Fox News. I did not realize that Brian Norcross was still broadcasting, and that's good. He's born. He has a passion. The way I have a passion for food, he has a passion for
what's weird about that?
Systems.
Our good friend Tony Segredo, I don't know that he would rat him out on this, but the word was that Norcross didn't want to have anything to do with the hurricane coverage. Like when they called him in to CBS or whatever it was where he was working at the time, he said,
NBC.
I'm not coming in. Yeah, NBC.
It was with
they dragged him in there.
Yes.
And then he became a hurricane hero because his information was obviously very good.
Him and Tony guided Floridians. The other networks, other local channels got knocked off the air that night. And the only one that was still even able to broadcast, and it was a radio signal because everybody's TV and power was knocked out, but it was NBC. I believe it was NBC4 at the time before they swapped channels. But and then the famous story that night is one of the main anchors walked out and said, I'm out of here. I'm going back to my family. And that's where Tony, I think.
He was a sports guy at the time.
Yeah. and he got
It was
his
actually a
story.
launching pad for my own career here. And Louie and I were trying to figure out because the memory's shot. But I was at WIOD at the time of Hurricane Andrew. And that day, before the thing hit, or a couple of days before, I had been offered the job. I was going to take over the Sports Talk 610 show, which was really the only sports talk show in town. So it was a very, very prestigious position to take. And I was replacing Joe Zagacki. And Joe had not been, he wasn't aware that this was going to happen. And then he went down in that plane crash out of the Perry Airport when
Yeah,
he
it was a
was
rescue mission with
a rescue mission
supplies.
that
Yeah,
in reality he just happened to have some bad luck and was on there. Obviously, it's bad luck if you're in a plane crash.
I heard the plane was
And I'll
overloaded.
never forget. I got a call from the program director, and he said, "Listen," and they hadn't announced his change yet. And then the thing happened with Joe, and he says to me, "Listen, DeForest, don't worry about a thing. You're still going to be the Sports Talk 610 host. We'll handle Zagacki."
Oh, jeez. Well, luckily,
And I thought, what kind of business is this I'm getting into?
a
Jeez,
ruthless business.
this is the
But
business we have chosen.
look, Joe Zagacki, he was trying to do something heroic, and he almost died. It was no laughing matter at the time. But speaking of no laughing matters, actually, one of the one of the local NBC6 weathercasters, John Morales, who's been doing
He
it
was
a
like
long time.
crying.
He was crying. He pulled an Edmund Muskie, and there's an old reference to a presidential
Wow.
candidate who basically his campaign ended when he showed emotion and started choking up and crying. John Morales the other day, when he was talking about the rapid intensification of Milton, and nobody's ever seen, in this neck of the woods, Andrew intensified over a 24-hour period, but this Milton, like in less than 10 hours, it went from basically a low category 1 to a category 5 with 180 miles per hour winds. And he's been sounding the alarm about climate change, and they still let him use the word climate change. And he did this excerpt of just basically breaking down at the marvel, not marvel, but yeah, it's just the awesome fury of nature and how these things didn't used to be like this. And then the clip, he shared it on Twitter/X, and it got 2 million views. And the New York Times did a story about him and his, what prompted his emotional outbursts. And I say more power to him,
Good for
because
him.
if he's crying about these hurricanes, I think that could be a warning to anybody in its path to hunker down, get out of the way. I mean, storm surge could be really bad on the south side of the storm. We're talking 10 to 15 feet with waves. And that's where you're going to see people climbing up on their rooftops again, even well inland, because there's so many other lakes, canals, other rivers that are around. Again, not to alarm anybody, but this is a big one, and it's a serious one. And we saw it this morning. I just sent you guys a picture. My buddy Scott, who he comes out to some shows. He was out biking by Markham Park this morning.
Oh,
and
he was out west. Oh, geez.
He saw that tornado. He sent me pictures that he took with his own camera on his phone while he was biking. And again, we have seen footage of it. They actually replayed footage of it just moments ago from another vantage point, but on the Weather Channel. But it doesn't look like one of those little water spouts that are maybe like 10 yards wide. This looked like a, Kansas Dorothy would not, going to the, Wicked Witch of the West or something like that. It looked like a real Midwestern tornado that was, several 100 yards wide. And that one was sighted, and it was going up the Everglades. It went near Pahokee, I guess. But this is the thing, Defo. We got these little cells that spin off from far from the center of the storm, and that's what we got to be on the lookout for today. So I'm glad.
I can't imagine being. I mean, look, we've been in the path of hurricanes, but just from what I experienced walking back from the Briny pub, which I had the wind in my back. It's always good to have the wind at your back in life. It's nice. Ride the wind if you can. That was a great song a long time ago. Ride the wind, ba 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 ba, and it was part of the theme of the hippy dippy movement that I was a part of back in the day. But coming back against the wind, as Bob Seger would have alluded to, or against the spread, not the easiest of things to do. And if this is any indication, I mean, we're hundreds of miles away from this, totally out of the cone of death, and you're still getting some impact, and it hasn't even begun to formulate yet. So. Yeah,
it's
I mean,
it's
it's a rough one. And I have great empathy for the people in Tampa.
Yep.
That one season that I worked at Tampa Bay Downs when Pete Rose, may he rest in peace, was sending it in on the first race, 20,000 to win on some horse, and he would knock it down to 1-9. But I had a great affection for the people of Tampa, and I really like the vibe up there. So our sympathies and empathies naturally are with them, and we hope everybody comes out of this okay.
yeah, and again, go the whole Tampa Bay area, St. Pete, and then south as you go across to Bradenton and Sarasota.
So,
There's just water. That whole, that
yep.
little inlet is just
All
Tampa
around water.
Bay, the bay, and so it surrounds all sides. So
Did you ever think about working at the Tampa Tribune? What did you think of that newspaper? I thought it was a
Uh,
decent newspaper.
I have a collection of over 30 rejection letters from various
That was one of them. Yeah.
sports editors. I applied back when
At the Tribune. They had a good paper.
I applied at the Tampa Tribune and the St. Pete
St. Pete
Back
Times.
before
was
it
a
became
really
the
good
Tampa Bay Times.
Yeah.
Both of them rejected me.
This was
but-
after you had the job in Spartanburg?
This was
Or
I sent
coming out
out
of college.
it was I sent out a host of letters to newspapers when I was finishing up at the Boston Globe, and even when I just got the job in Spartanburg. I spent about a year in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Lo and behold, it was one of the papers that I did not apply to because I never even heard of the Fort Lauderdale News and Sun Sentinel. But the sports editor at the time, Fred Turner, heard about me because I applied for a position up in Portland, Maine, though, of all places, where a former deputy of his became the sports editor. And they were a union shop that had strict rules about experience and who they could hire and who they couldn't. But this editor up in Portland, Maine, who I'm forever in debt to, and rest in peace, Mark Leary was his name. And Mark Leary forwarded my clips to Fred Turner, also rest in peace. And Fred says, he called me up when I was in the middle of working at Spartanburg when I just arrived. He goes, and I could see him dragging on a cigarette because he always smoked, Fred. He was like, yeah, Mayo, it's Fred Turner down in Fort Lauderdale, the Sun Sentinel. You don't know me, but I'm going to hire you. You just got to give me a little time.
Oh, that's good for a young guy. I never got
was
that
like-
reaction. It was always like, what are you doing applying for this job, man? You should get a copy of the classifieds and see if you can
Again,
get
I
something
didn't
in construction.
I didn't even apply for a job. He just got the clip pack forwarded, and he liked some of what I had been writing at the Globe. And Fred was a Boston guy.
No, you're a good writer, as evidenced by the other day. I mean, I was amazed at the sarcasm.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe regrettably so, when you were describing the key lime pie that was made by our good friend Brian and his wife at
God,
Wicked
that was
Cheesesteaks.
brutal.
And I'm thinking, you know what? You don't realize who you're trampling when you're making these wise, sarcastic remarks. You're just trying to write something that sounds clever. And in the meantime, you're literally like spitting on this poor person's grave.
I was ruining poor Sonata's life. I mean, losing account. And, the thing was because I had been, I came from a background of sports. When you rip a, coach or receiver, they got their
You don't care.
guaranteed
They make a living.
contracts. They're not going to starve that night. When I rip politicians, they know it and they deserve it when they get into the game because I was a news columnist for a long time. Then when I got into the food game, you learn just how not only sensitive people can be, but it's because their livelihoods depend on it. And so I was always very mindful. I did not rip, and I didn't do kind of hatchet jobs on small mom and pop places. If I had a bad or mediocre meal at one of those spots, I would just write it off and not write about it and say, all right, eventually they're going to meet their demise if the food, if they continue to perform at that mediocre level. However, for places, in that case, the review was a place that was owned by Tim Petrillo's restaurant people, big outfit, big, they're well backed. And they took over this Casablanca Cafe, which is a well-known place on the beach. I did not realize that they got the key lime pie from a mom and pop in terms of Brian and Sonata do baked goods and bread for restaurants around town. Had I known that, I might have just removed the line about the key lime pie, but it was vicious. And, Brian gave me a piece of it the other day. It was less sweet than the one I had. It was still very kind of condensed milk, frozen kind of thing. Not my particular. He's
But
making
again,
a face.
but
It's not
again,
my style.
That's the thing. So, and I'm not gonna protect anyone. You can be as honest. as you
Am I
want.
burying myself again?
You're
Defo?
fine. It is what it is. You're just honest to a fault, so it is what it is. But
I ripped my own daughter's brownies when she baked
you
them
didn't
2
tell
weeks
me.
ago.
Defo wasn't there when you said that.
Well, there's a big X in front of the wife. Whenever we talk about who made something she posted on Facebook the other day looked spectacular. Looked like it came out of some high end
don't have a
restaurant out
wife.
of Chicago or
Who
something.
are
Your
we talking about?
ex-wife. He said your ex-wife.
X. Oh, I heard. I
Yeah,
didn't hear the X part.
Right.
No,
yeah.
that the
But yeah, I mean, you go there and she makes like some spectacular meal, invites you, which is even more exceptional, and then you rip the the russet potatoes or whatever.
What do you mean? His
It's like the
daughter,
most minor element of the meal. You're having some concerns about.
all
his
right.
daughter's
Meanwhile,
not
I'm
a
in.
baker. She's not even trying to be a baker. She
I
just
know.
was home the other weekend and was like, "All right, I'm gonna make brownies," which is cool. I've never made my parents baked goods, so she makes them, and the first thing he says was, "Yeah, they're a little dry."
We work with this guy. I mean, Lubie, have you discovered this? We work with a lot of weirdos, right? Is this one of the strangest cats you've ever run? I didn't realize this about Mayo when we started this thing. I did not realize this at all. I thought he was like a fairly normal guy.
Well, I mean, he fits right in.
Old people.
Degenerate gambler.
He was a degenerate gambler. He liked sports. He
Yeah,
liked to
news
eat.
writer.
He liked a lot of the restaurants I
Like
like.
the good life. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a man who. I guess what's the word? Not
Schnorrer would be the first word that comes to mind.
I was in his exhibition of
Yeah.
a man who pursues.
Well, we don't want to criticize you, Michael, but
I pursue
I mean,
pleasure.
there's some things there that definitely have concern to people.
Sybarite. That's the word.
I don't even know.
Sybarite.
Good for
Look
you.
that one up, you
Look it up.
SAT word people. Sybarite. Sybarite. I believe it
Does
means.
Sarni know what it means? I don't. What is it?
I don't know. I might be making it up. I think it means one who pursues pleasure and is into things that.
Don't we all? I mean, it's
Well, he-
hedonism,
what
my
I was
friend.
gonna say.
Not
Yeah.
everybody. Not the Puritans. They were Puritanical.
Don't tell me you never visited there when you were in Las Vegas.
Hey, so what I've got here is we've got to consume. When the storms are coming or even near us, everybody hunkers down and gets their comfort food going. Well, I happen to have, and this it basically fits in perfectly with the National Seafood Month theme. The other night, went to Tom T's Louisiana Kitchen pop-up up in Coral Springs at the Lavello restaurant. He packed me a bag of his pasta jambalaya. This time he went with using fettuccine, multicolored fettuccine, some spinach and some regular. And instead of using rice in a jambalaya, he made a pasta jambalaya. Now I've got here we took it to go because we got so filled up on all the appetizers the other night. But now I've got it, and it's got some shrimp, so that ticks off the box for the seafood month. It also has shredded duck, some of the Andier sausage, and looks like some peppers and tomatoes. I'm going to take my bite now, so Sarni will be happy that we could tick off day 9, National Seafood Month, and the entry for today will be the shrimp and the other goodies that are in the Tom's Louisiana Kitchen pasta jambalaya.
Nice. So let me ask you: are we supposed to do anything for this storm? Because Shirley keeps coming to me and asking me. I don't think we've done anything, and I'm like, no, we haven't. But I don't. I know we're not getting the impact, but Defo's not wrong. Like, it's been windy as hell over here all day, and it's not supposedly hitting us, and it's out there. So to me, I feel like when it gets closer to land, we're gonna see something. Like, am I wrong?
Yeah,
Like,
there will be more squalls coming through, and they spin pretty quickly, through, and they could be seeing some heavy rain with the threat of tornadoes. So you got to be mindful. Pay attention to your TV and your radar on your phone. I have the NBC6 app. They have that super Doppler radar, and it really basically tells you down to the block if you got some kind of big cell coming through. If you need to take cover, because if there's a tornado coming down your block, you want to go into either a basement, or if you don't have a basement or a crawl space, you want to go into an interior room. I'm learning the lay of the land here because now I'm in a completely new house here, which thankfully high and dry. There's not even a puddle on the block or the driveway, which is a refreshing change of pace for this man who's made a living out of flood claims. But we've got different trees, and we're situated differently. And there's this big, what do they call it, like a gumbo limbo tree that has very weak, low-hanging branches. And if the wind comes out of the south, now I'm a little bit concerned because we have storm-resistant windows and doors here, but you don't know if anytime a major tree branch snaps or comes off and heads in your direction, will the windows and doors hold? So it's going to be a new adventure here. I think what they're calling for is occasional gusts of up to 60, 70 miles per hour in South Florida, depending on
Mhm.
these squalls. So, again, that could definitely down some power lines and down some tree branches. So, you got to be mindful. It also could kick up some loose debris if you have your garbage cans out and about. They might get knocked over and blown down the block. So, use every precaution. Luckily, we're not in the brunt of it. And my advice to you, Defo and Lubie, is to start drinking and smoking heavily. So, in my case, eating. Speaking of drinking and smoking heavily, well, not smoking, but how about that show at Kaizen yesterday and the after party, Lubie? I know you had to cut out. And how'd your other endeavor go there, Defo?
It came off great. Unbelievable. Very happy with that. Although I don't know that my performance was up to speed, but when you're interviewing the lovely and talented Leslie Visser, mind-blowing bunch of stories. It was really fantastic. Just great, great fun. Talked to her for an hour. It flew by, and then I realized I didn't even begin to scratch the surface of what not only her career but her life and her whole disposition and the way she treats people was all about. So, yeah, came off real well in spite of all of the panic that was created yesterday with the Lubie microphone situation, my soundboard blowing out early in the morning, and the different transitions that we had to make. I'm not exactly computer savvy, as you know. So, and then all of a sudden you come on a new show in a different format, and I'm working on like 3 different platforms. And, you think the guy is just, messing with you because he's mouthing the words.
Yeah.
And the truth is, he can't hear you.
So,
so
what
then
is-
I'm inside there. Go to settings and do this and do that and that. And I finally I got it working, and it came out great. So,
So
I
what
was
is
very
this
happy.
new platform? Where can people find it? It's kind of an interview
A
format?
friend of mine who this is an extrapolation and an extension of what was another. Sometimes you have to get involved in a bunch of failed projects before you find something that might actually work. And in this case, this was an offshoot of the Tony Bruno Sports Network.
How'd
And
that work out?
well, it didn't work out that great for anybody, but especially not Bruno. But the one of the guys that I was working with there, who turned out, I mean, he was one of these guys that actually delivered on what he, had to say. If he promised you this, he was going to do it. And he started a thing called Bleacher Brothers, or he had it going, and then he invested a lot of his time and money into trying to upgrade what he was doing, and he thought that I would be a good part of it. So it's worked out well. But this was the first show of that type that I was doing on there, and it's always a little bit dicey. So I didn't want anything to go wrong. Lubie's handing me a microphone.
Is it a once a week thing, or is it
I'm doing a
daily?
bunch of stuff with this guy. So,
Okay.
but that show is going to be once a week.
Where do we
featuring
find that content? If we
Bleacher
want?
Brothers. That's where you go.
BleacherBrothers.com?
Bleacher Brothers. Yeah, that's
Bleacher
as
Brothers.
simple as it gets.
They're
yeah.
not related to the Dark Brothers, are they? It sounds a little pornish. I'm a little.
No, not at all. It's all sports.
Sport,
And
Bleacher, sport.
guy that runs it is a guy
Bleacher
named
Report used to be.
AJ Johnson, and he's a very reputable guy and done well for himself, and he's totally into it. So it's nice to work with some people that actually come through with what they say they're going to do. And there's a lot of this stuff out there. You never know when you're going to hit on something, so you got to keep throwing stuff against the wall.
And you're working the microphone handheld like a pro. A little bit of Sammy Davis Jr., a little bit of Frank Sinatra, a little bit of Lou Canova. That was the character in Broadway Danny Rose. He was a nightclub singer, but you like that? I don't know. So I go back and forth because sometimes when you like holding it, it looks like you're like in one of those hostage videos and they're making you hold that thing. But
I feel like this show is like a hostage video most of the time. What are you talking about, Mayo?
well, I mean, do you feel like you want to put it into a stand, or is it just one of those?
Ideally you'd put it on a mic stand. I don't have one that really is compatible with this, and I know I have like a whole trunk full of equipment buried somewhere from the past, and I probably have a viable mic stand. But whenever we had handheld mics, and Lubie knows this, we were on a lot of remotes, and it wasn't always convenient. Maybe from an engineering standpoint, it was better to use headsets or whatever, or different type of microphones. But on a lot of occasions, if you had many people on the show, handheld mics or stick mics, as they call them, were the preferred option. And anytime they set them up, they would have this beautiful setup with the mics with the mic flags on it. First thing I did was take it out of the mic stand and just hold it because that's the way I was accustomed to working. And otherwise, you end up almost like it was Yom Kippur and you were Rabbi Philip Book and you're like, because you had to bend over to. You used to do this before you
Yeah.
got like a decent
Davening.
setup.
Yeah,
Yeah, you were davening the entire time. And I don't think it comes off well on video. I really don't.
That's all right. Well, no, in any event, you're sounding terrific. You're looking marvelous. Luby's getting a
I
little
just
blurry.
slept in. I tell
So-
you what, it's actually beautiful conditions out there in a lot of ways.
I got sunshine here in East Fort
Yeah,
Lauderdale.
I got a little sunshine now, but as I said, the wind. I do this every day, so I know all of the conditions.
Yes.
And a couple of weeks ago, when Helene was hundreds of miles away, you could see the impact of that even here. You got gusts of like 40, 50 miles an hour sometimes because on A1A, where I am across from the Sea Watch, which is a place that Sarni loves, and a lot of people really like the place. I'm not a huge customer there. In fact, I've been living here 3 years. I've been there once, and that was to meet Ray Hudson with Sarni. Good restaurant. I don't know. You've kind of made comments about it. A lot of people really like it on Let's Eat South Florida. There's nothing negative to say
It
about it.
might be an
But
iconic
it's not,
eatery of
it's
South
not my
Florida.
favorite place. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
it
it's
could be
been
one of
there
the
a while.
iconic places.
Yeah.
Although I think it's going to be a condo in like a year. So but we'll see.
I've heard rumors to that effect too. That is some very valuable.
I'm pretty sure the
beachfront
land has been
land.
sold
All right.
to some developer.
Luby's getting blurrier by the minute. That concerns me. Maybe we should.
What
take our
happened? Yeah,
first
Luby's
break.
got internet situation difficulties.
That's all right. Let's. Tomorrow we're going to be at Batch, and haven't given some love to Batch this week with any live words, but we'll be there tomorrow, and weather permitting. I'm sure it'll be fine by tomorrow. And
Those guys are great, by the way.
oh yeah, Brandon,
Much like
and
Queen
Kevin.
yesterday, and what a terrific person, and somebody that you couldn't help but want to support, whether his food was average, but the fact that it's so outstanding. What a great guy, and Brandon and Kevin are two of my favorites.
And it's one of those things where every other post there for a while on Let's Eat, it was praise being heaped upon the Batch crew at the Fort Lauderdale locations at 525 North Federal Highway. That's where we'll be tomorrow. Now they kind of reconfigured a Batch into the southern the southern, new Southern kitchen concept from a gastro pub up in Delray Beach, West Delray, in the marketplace there, just west of the Turnpike. And and you want to go check it out because they're doing a great job with Southern food, whether it's lunch, dinner, or weekend brunch. They serve brunch both Saturday and Sunday with the bottomless drink options. Terrific stuff. And you can't miss those drop biscuits. They are drop dead gorgeous. I cannot resist them anytime I'm there, along with some of the other favorites like a great jambalaya and the burnt brisket.
Wait a minute, though. Before you do that, I'm surprised Tanazzini didn't throw this jambalaya at you.
Well, this is a pasta jambalaya, so it's different.
It doesn't matter. I mean, of course, he gave you something different because I couldn't believe it. I think the guy makes look. You can compare them, whatever. Everybody has a different slant on it. We know Luke's makes a great one. We know Batch Southern Kitchen makes a great one. And I would say that Tanazzini, should not take a back seat to anybody on jambalaya.
I'm not saying it takes a back seat. I'm just saying, when
but he should have just thrown it.
Oh,
at
he
him.
could throw stuff at.
What do you think, Lubie? Should he have thrown his stuff?
I didn't say his jambalaya is bad. I just say
I don't know.
I find his jambalaya he does some these
Don't go
other
any deeper,
dishes
Mayo. Don't go any deeper.
so well, like the red beans and rice. And the other night he had this
Red beans and rice.
his
Come on, this is
gumbo.
great stuff he
his
makes.
seafood gumbo. He had this crab dish. He had this like voodoo dip, which is like cheese and shredded crab. But then he had this other crab dish. I forgot what he called it. If he's on there, but it was just incredible. Like baked in a little casserole dish because he has this pizza oven there at Lavello's, and it was with big chunks of lump crab meat and bacon and breadcrumbs and seasoning. I forgot the name of it, but it was an incredible.
It doesn't matter what you call it. It sounds great.
Well,
sounds
it's great.
Are you kidding?
It's amazing. I mean, and Tom does high level cuisine, and of course, the Batch people do high level cuisine. That black and red fish is going to go towards my seafood month diary tomorrow. We're going to be out there, 525 North Federal Highway. You go check it out. They're open every day. Wednesday night is their whiskey Wednesdays, and with the storm tonight. Not sure if they're postponing anything, but you could still get in there and get your great whiskey drinks. They will be open, and go in there and you get free parking in the garage next door, right on that side street there. 4 hours of free parking makes it a breeze to go to the Fort Lauderdale Batch. Tell them the Lunchbox sent you, and write up a nice review on the Let's Eat group. We love seeing it there. All right, let's take that first break and we'll get out of here. We'll come back and more storm talk about comfort foods and what you should be and shouldn't be eating during a storm.
Tough night, though, too, for the restaurant industry.
Yes.
Even the prelude to it. Like, nobody was out last night. Mustang was at Fishtails. Nobody there. Incredible. And, so these are rough days for the people in the business that we love so much.
Yeah, but they'll bounce back. They'll hold turn, and they're there to serve the community. And so many restaurants are. I saw things that, like Buddy, our friend at Southport Raw Bar, and then I saw Zuccarello's. They're offering discounts to people who have been evacuating from the West Coast. If you
Oh,
show like a
nice.
driver's license that shows like a
That's nice.
Tampa or Fort Myers address, they'll give you a discount off your bill because they don't want to hammer you. Some places are doing 35%. Some places doing
All around
20%.
DeSantis, if you get hammered.
And
I'll tell you what, Taco Craft, I was by, of course, Lauderdale by the Sea area there in Commercial. Taco Craft and Even Keel Fish Shack were both cranking last night. I was very happy to see that. And
That's
a
good.
lot of people at outdoor tables.
All right. We
Oh,
got to take that first break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk more about the impact of the storm, even though we're on the periphery, after these words. It's a little further inland, Luke's Seafood and Grill. That's Luke's with a C, 5511 South University Drive in Davie. Luke and Roxy, they're a great couple with great food. It's a mom and pop shop bringing the freshest fish and seafood to Western Broward. Some of the best jambalaya and fish cakes around. And Scooby Dooby Doo, where are you? You can find his famous Scoobies, those sauteed crab claws, right there on the specials board most days. Oh, so good. So take a trip to University just north of Sterling today. Lunch, dinner closed on Mondays. Tell them Mike Mayo's Lunchbox sent you. When people come to me and say, Mike, where should I go out to eat? I got guests coming from out of town. Where should we go? Cafe Seville. That's the answer. 2768 East Oakland Park Boulevard. It's a Fort Lauderdale perennial, serving the finest in Spanish and continental cuisine in a cozy, friendly, comfortable setting. Joey Esposito and Sally, his better half, they've been running the place for a long time. It's been open since the 1980s. They got great Spanish classics like paella, shrimp with garlic sauce, and all kinds of great seafood dishes. The stuffed veal chop, oh, that's my favorite. Go to Cafe Seville. It's open every day but Sunday at 5 p.m. for dinner. Tell them that the Lunchbox Mayo and Defo sent you. Do you like burgers? Do you like wings? Do you like late night food and sports on big screen TVs and cold beer and friendly vibe and great people? Then you want to check out Shenanigans, 1300 South Federal Highway in Dania Beach. Go to Shenanigans, you get yourself all the good stuff, the fresh fish every day, the black and grilled wings, and of course, the kitchens are open late. Go there, tell them that the Lunchbox Mayo and Defo sent you. One of the best restaurants in Broward, J&C Oyster in downtown Hollywood. At 2035 Harrison Street, this place is fantastic and worth a drive. It's got creative, cutting-edge seafood and more with an Asian twist and gorgeous cocktails. Chefs Raheem Seeley and Monica Dominguez cut their teeth at some of Miami's best restaurants. Don't miss some of these fantastic dishes, including grilled oysters, fried chicken, and the Thai red curry crab. Open Wednesday through Sunday for dinner with daily happy hour and outdoor seating. Go to jncoyster.com for reservations and information. Tell them Mike Mayo's Lunchbox sent you. When I'm looking for some wicked good food for a wicked good lunch, there's only one place to go. That's Wicked Cheesesteaks in Fort Lauderdale. It's at 4824 North Federal Highway, just south of Commercial Boulevard and across from Holy Cross Hospital. My friend Brian there, he will hook you up with some really tasty treats. They've got cheesesteaks just like the best you can find in Philly, along with lobster rolls, because that's where he's from, Maine originally. And they have wings and pizza and everything you want to have a really good time. Wicked Cheesesteaks, they're open every day but Tuesday. Check them out online, wickedcheesesteaks.com. Tell them the Lunchbox sent you. If you're looking for a great place for steaks, seafood, and more, go to Tropical Acres Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. It's at 2500 Griffin Road in Dania, just west of I-95 in the airport. They've been there a long time, since 1949. That means they're doing something right. You'll get old school hospitality from the Studiali family, along with great value, for tremendous service. Of course, you could also go into the bar for happy hour every day, 4 to 6, and they have great value all night long. Also, a butcher shop that's open every day from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. except Sunday. The dining room is open every day at 4:30 except Sunday. Go to Tropical Acres. Tell them the Lunchbox sent you. All right, we're back on the Lunchbox. Lubie looks better. I think he did some technical work during the break. Much clearer picture.
Can you hold on for a second here? I got a call coming in from Vladimir Putin.
Okay.
I've been talking to him off and on throughout the thing in the Ukraine.
Does he need some tests? I don't have any COVID tests.
I got his number. I'll send it to you, Mike. I don't know if he wants to hear from you.
I could send him.
He hears you haven't been saying very flattering things about him.
I could.
All right, so what are you going to do about this
wait,
jambalaya situation now? What is the story with you?
Well, first of all, I'm going to eat some more of this delicious pasta jambalaya. Although I did have to jazz it up a little bit and need a little bit of salt.
Oh,
That's okay.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Well,
But
we're
I
sorry,
did.
Tom. Lubie, do you want a disclaimer here?
I
We don't have anything to do with this guy. Nothing.
So I just sent you guys pictures of that dish I was talking about from the other night. I also sent you the menu that he had the other night, and a really good menu on laminated paper. They did it up right the other
The
night.
people that went seemed to really love it.
Oh yeah, it was.
I
great.
saw some posts
It
on
was,
Let's See.
and it just goes to show, like, if you get in the right environment with the right people, and everything was just firing on all cylinders that night. Because Lavello is usually closed on Mondays, and Bruno, the chef owner there, was nice enough.
Now, where's
to,
Lavello? It's out by Lubie, right?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
in University Drive in Coral Springs, just north of Atlantic and south of, what is it called? Royal Palm
Yeah.
Boulevard or something
Royal
like that.
Opens and Roy Palms at the same
It's
road.
in a shopping center there. But hopefully he's going to be Tom's going to be doing more of his pop-ups on Mondays at Lavello, because Lavello is closed for its usual Italian themed menu. But what I sent you a picture of was called baked crab remick. And I guess that's a New Orleans style dish. I don't know who Mr. Remick was, not Ralph Rennick, but Remick. It said colossal blue crab with cream sauce, smoked bacon, Parmesan, and some crisp garlic, French bread toasted on the side. I sent you guys some pics. It was absolutely delicious. We had the baked oyster, we had oysters, his famous, again, they were huge too. Just the grilled oysters, they were great. We had the voodoo fondue, which was cheesy warm dip studded with fresh crab and Louisiana crawfish, and that's like kind of a version of, like, when you go to Mexican restaurants and you get the fundido, the queso. It's kind of like a New Orleans style queso dip. It was great. And then he sent out some of the funky blonde mussels, which is like mussels in an ale and a little bit of blue cheese sauce. I think it's great, well balanced. I mean, he has some fantastic dishes. So if I have to add a little salt to one dish, that is not in any kind of form.
You don't need to add salt to anything at this stage of your life. Eliminate salt, eliminate sugar, please.
Okay.
Put the honey in the coffee and get rid of your salt shaker. I'm
put
sure
salt in my
anybody that
coffee.
knows you or has any feeling about you whatsoever would give you the same advice. You don't
All right.
need any more salt.
Well, that's it. But that was a great night at Tom's. And now I see we've got people that are chiming in about, what do you eat during storms? What do you like? What kind of chips do you like? I do like a classic Doritos. I know you are like Wise potato chips, or is it?
You know what? I
Lay's?
was going to get into that with you, actually. Because,
Again,
I know you mistakenly favor Lay's potato chips over Wise, but you are so dead wrong, Mayo. Dead wrong. Carlos Frias, who's on the chat line here, would agree with me. Wise. I had a bag. Mustang's sort of a potato chip person. I try to stay away from them, but I can't resist it once in a while. We got 4 ball games on today. I'll probably eat a few. And I had a bag of Wise potato chips. And when you open them, much fresher and much more plentiful and flavorful
They're
than
also
anything that you get from the Lay's potato chips.
they're
people.
also greasier. I mean,
Well,
that's what I found.
That's what's good about it. Come
in
on,
the early
get outta here, man.
early days of the Lunchbox, when we first branched into the video internet component.
You're so wrong about this. It's incredible. I don't know why you would go seek some therapy. Wise potato
I
chips.
did a taste test. and
Literally lay all over Lay's potato chips.
They're both light, crisp chips, and the Wise is a little bit greasier. I guess you like that kind of heavier on the oil. They're good. They're fine. Have you tried Utz? UTZ chips?
Good, yeah, but I always like Wise potato chips. In fact, I remember I used to be in the Police Boys Club Bowling League at the Belmore Lanes when I was a kid, and they had Wise onion and garlic potato chips, and I thought that was the greatest thing I'd ever eaten in my life. Just a culinary
Hey,
delight.
speaking of good potato chips, last night, the official opening of Daniel's Steakhouse right down the block from my new digs, when we went to the VIP opening, they had these house-made potato chips that they're doing with a kind of like an onion garlic dip, but they're also going to be doing it with fresh caviar. But they were spectacular. If you like Wise chips, you would love these chips, Defo.
I'm a big fan of the places. Does a good job on this. I guess what did Brews Room start doing this here down here, where you make your own potato chips, and and they do a great job. And people
You
are always
scallop a
asking.
potato?
I see this a lot. Not just Let's Eat, but there's another place, Pompano Beach Facebook page, and people are always asking about restaurants there. Which, by the way, Betta Mia Italian restaurant getting some nice reviews. A lot of people may not even be aware that it exists, but they do a good job. And Brendan's, it was Yahtzee's many years ago, and then it went through a couple of transitions. And Brendan's has some excellent lunch specials, but they make those chips, in house, and they're absolutely great. They do a great job with that.
No, that's good. And some people are mentioning the Cape Cod chips. Those are for people who like their chips
Cape Cod chips
crunchier
are good,
and
no doubt. Yeah, that should
if
be
you
for
like
you.
if you like them thick and crunchy, and
Yeah.
I do like that style of chip.
Oh, and
But
what is it? Is it Voodoo chips
Voodoo
out of
chips
New
are the
Orleans?
same.
Great.
And they sell those at Las Patas. Gail,
Yeah.
and I saw you got in a little beef with Gail Kappas.
There's no beef. There was no
Beef.
beef.
There
with
was a
her.
beef.
No,
You rejected her entry. I guess it wasn't you. It might have
she
been somebody
didn't
else.
put the. She
You're going to
didn't do
hold
something
Gail
wrong.
Kappas of Las Patas, original Hoagies,
Yes.
responsible for location and treat
Yes.
her
He
like
holds
she was any schlep.
It doesn't matter if you're the
He's
owner of
very-
a reputable restaurant. It doesn't matter
A
if
reputable,
you're a
5
relative
places,
of mine. It doesn't matter
an
if you're
iconic place. Come on.
if it doesn't matter if you're my new girlfriend or my ex-wife. Everybody has to follow the rules, and if
Yes.
you don't follow the rules,
Yeah,
then
it's
you will
reasonable,
get
I
a
guess.
They blocked
rejection.
Michelle. They blocked Val. My father got blocked.
Nobody blocked. It's just called a rejection notice. Blocking is when we throw
Nobody
you out of
blocked
the
you.
group.
It's
That's
like the
when-
Kembe Matumbo, this guy, when it comes to this stuff. What are you talking about? He's
It's
waving
not
a
a
finger in your
blocking,
face.
it's
Hey,
a
I need the
rejection
location.
letter, like all those rejection letters I got from all those sports editors, and and I said, you know what? You can either take it as just have a chip on your shoulder, a potato chip on your shoulder, or you can get better and do the Kaizen method, continuous improvement. And lo and behold, I was able to improve and get hired by a major newspaper. And those who don't follow the rules, they can improve by inserting the location of a restaurant, and then their post will be happily accepted and then probably ridiculed and
It was a mixed bag, though.
on-
I'm curious. I love sourdough bread. I mean, I was hooked on it. I remember going. I was doing some ads for a vineyard in California, and they had us out there one time when the Dolphins were playing the Raiders on the road. So they sent us out there to tour the vineyard and see what that was all about, the way they were making their wines. And they provided a lunch for us that had the most delicious sourdough bread I've ever had in my lifetime. And now there's this place on Oakland Park Boulevard
Yeah.
that Gail was talking about. But it seemed like, and you would be a much better judge of this than I would be, a mixed bag. Like people were sort of alluding to the idea that the prices were a little high, although they were very satisfied with what they got. So
It wouldn't be a
I-
let's eat. Yeah, it wouldn't be a let's eat post if people weren't bitching about.
But what
the
would be
price.
a normal price for a loaf of sourdough bread?
What is
And-
normal? I mean, the sourdough is a costly product.
It's
in
a lot
terms
of work.
You
Shows
gotta
me,
really
it's a lot of work.
work your dough. They have that starter. You have what's called,
a
I
whole
guess, the
friggin'
mother base dough that you constantly have to feed and preserve, and then you use that to make.
If
new
I could get
batches.
like a great piece of sourdough bread, just walk in and it was actually like somewhat warm. I mean, I would feel like I was on the wharf there watching Lubie eat that crab sandwich he had.
I would say an appropriate price for a fresh house-made sourdough loaf would be $7.95, something like that.
Okay,
I
but
don't know.
the allusion was to the idea that these loaves of bread at this particular place, which the name is I think it's called what? Sour
yeah.
Puss? What is it called? I don't
Sour
even know.
Patch Kid. No, I don't know what the name of it is. I'll look it up.
Come on, look it up,
Yep.
Mayo. And it sounded very interesting, but they said that the bread was like $13-14, but the loaves were like double the size of a normal loaf of bread.
As big as my head, or as big as Jason Cole's head. And the big sourdough.
Big as Joe Rose's head. What are you talking
Well,
about?
that's a big head. OJ
That's a
Simpson,
giant head,
rest in
yeah.
peace. But no, actually, do we want OJ to rest in peace? I should have said that.
Who's
I
that?
don't know.
OJ,
OJ Simpson.
Oh,
Rotten
Simpson.
hell. I'm sorry.
I was there that day that he eclipsed 2,000 yards with the electric company at Shea. Happened right in front of my eyeballs. I was walking down the aisle there by the field, and you would have never in a million years imagined what would transpire in the rest of that guy's life. That's for sure.
That's for sure. All right, we got to take our
I waited enough, Jay. I told you that,
second
right?
of 3 breaks. Yes, we will hear
Lousy
that story.
tipper. Lousy
After the-
tipper.
I would not. That would not surprise me at all. All right, we got to take our second break. Before we do, let's talk about today's presenting sponsor. Was it Delaware fried chicken and seafood.
Yes.
And we're going to be in there next Thursday. It's unbelievable that it's less than a week until stone crab season begins on October 15th. We're going to be in there on Thursday, the 17th, to dive in. And it's educational. We want to show people the correct way to crack and peel and eat a stone crab, because you don't want to have any waste when it comes to those things, because they are a delicacy, and kind of a high price one at that. But it's what makes South Florida when you get into stone crab season. And they've got the freshest and all sizes, and also economically priced if you want to go for the mediums. And then they have, besides that, just all kinds of great seafood, the Key West pink shrimp, all kinds of fish from waters near and far, not to mention the poultry that can't be beat. We love Delaware seafood. We love Gene, and of course Jose, who is now running the show there. Doug Carter, you can still find him behind the counter. He still loves to work. Guy's in his 80s, and we love Doug. Again, it's 4191 North State Road 7 in Hollywood. Can't miss it. Big Chicken on the Roof, right across from the old Seminole Bingo Parlor, now known as the Seminole Classic Casino. Go in there today. DelawareChicken.com is the website. You can sign up for their weekly newsletter that includes all their deals and specials. So again, go into Delaware. We'll see you there next week. Tell them the Lunchbox sent you. And that's it. Let's take our second break. We'll come back after these words. Best restaurants in South Florida? Casa D'Angelo is always at the top of my list. First-class dining, top-flight service, elegant atmosphere, and chef-founder Angelo Ilia is legendary. The flagship in Fort Lauderdale has been serving the finest Italian cuisine since 1997, with other locations in Boca Raton and Aventura. As Angelo himself says, they have an unwavering commitment to unparalleled quality with meticulous attention to details. It's so good, with house-made pastas, pristine seafood, unique meats like elk chops and bison, and seasonal specialties including fragrant fresh truffles from Italy. All locations open 7 days for dinner. Reservations recommended. For a special occasion or any occasion, Casa D'Angelo. Tell them Mike Mayo sent you. If you're looking for an exquisite sushi experience, Kaizen Sushi Bar and Grill in Fort Lauderdale is the place to go. 5640 North Federal Highway, just north of Commercial Boulevard. Chef owner Hui Lam, he's a sushi savant, slicing and serving pristine fish and seafood flown in directly from Japan and around the world. Nigiri, sashimi, special rolls, and omakase dinners. He's ruined me from going anywhere else. It's that good. Open 7 days for dinner and also for lunch. Even if you're not a sushi fan, they have great cooked options, including steaks, chops, rice and noodles, and other Japanese dishes. It's fantastic. For reservations and information, go to kaizenflorida.com. Tell them Mike Mayo and the Lunchbox sent you. Delicious Mexican food with innovative twists. Margaritas with a medley of tongue-tingling flavors. I'm talking about Taco Craft, Taqueria, and Tequila Bar. The place to go on Taco Tuesday and every day. It's located at 510 North Federal and Highway in Fort Lauderdale, and also in Lauderdale by the Sea at Plantation Walk, and soon in Coral Springs. Taco Craft has specials every day, including bottomless drinks for a Sunday brunch, and Taco Tuesdays with their $4 premium tacos, including their new burrito tacos with bone marrow broth. Oh, it's so good. They've even made a taco lover out of me, and they've got so much more, including fajitas, that open-faced smashed cheeseburger tortilla that's new, and a guacamole sample that's an explosion of flavors. The kitchen is open late. There's delivery and takeout. For more information, go to tacocraft.com. Tell them Mike Mayo the Lunchbox sent you. From a scratch kitchen, delicious drinks and house-made spirits from a craft bar. A great vibe inside and out with a spacious patio. I'm talking about Batch New Southern Kitchen and Tap, Fort Lauderdale, in the heart of the city at 525 North Federal Highway. It's open 7 days for lunch, dinner, and weekend brunch with classics like fried chicken and waffles and shrimp and grits, and creative items like pecan-crusted salmon and a fried green tomato BLT. And the drinks? Smooth sipping and so good. There's convenient free parking and a garage next door, happy hour at the bar, an entire patio, 4 to 7 Monday to Friday, and live music every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It's pet and people friendly and with cozy fire pits for when the temperature dips. For reservations and more information, go to BashSouthernKitchen.com. If you like seafood in a comfortable setting, outdoors, even keel fish shack at the corner of A1A and Commercial Boulevard in Lauderdale by the Sea, and also now with a new location on Las Olas Boulevard. Those are my spots. Upscale food in a down-home setting. The chef owners, Dave and Brad, do a terrific job with all the seafood classics that you want. They have the best grilled oysters in town, bang bang shrimp, lobster rolls, and deli fish specials. They also have weekend brunch Saturday and Sunday. They have deli happy hour 4 to 7, and they also have other weekly specials like mussels on Monday and oysters on Tuesday. Go to Even Keel Fish Shack and tell them that the Lunchbox sent you. All right, we're back on a home edition of the Lunchbox as Hurricane Milton is bearing down on the West Coast probably in the next 12 hours. Our thoughts to everybody involved. I Loaf Sourdough is the name
At the
of
place,
the
that's all
sourdough
that pop
baker.
up.
I Loaf instead of Love Sourdough, and they have a little heart shaped like a sourdough on the sign.
They do other things there, though, apparently, also.
All right. Yeah, it's a bakery.
Yeah.
But they're going to be making their bones on their sourdough loaves. I don't know what they go for. I'll be checking it out. It's very close to our friend Joey at Cafe Seville. Hey, so as you mentioned, Carlos Frias is on the chat line. He's been watching.
Where does he weigh in on the wines versus Lays? That would be.
Here's
now, where do you weigh in, Lubie? And you have split loyalties here.
I'm just not. The plain potato chip thing is something that my wife literally bought like a whole box of them, and I'm like, who just eats plain chip? Like, I get a plain chip for like a dip. To me, we have like rows of snacks now, so to eat a plain chip, I don't like. I don't know. I guess I'm wise, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of either.
I'll bring in a bag
Neither.
of each,
Wow.
and I'm going to I'll do a
We know
blind.
where you stand on this, and you're on the wrong side of it. But
Okay.
where does Carlos Frias weigh in?
Carlos
This is a distinguished
Frias
journalist.
weighs in with a new entry. He poses an interesting question, okay, which is if you ran a restaurant, would you willingly sacrifice being open on a Friday night and on Saturdays in order to do a new concept? That's the question. And do you think it sounds like a recipe for success or failure?
It sounds like a recipe for disaster there. What are you talking about?
In the case of Josh's Deli in Surfside, Florida,
The guy's like a super kosher Orthodox?
Well, they've gone from, it's been a deli that's been well regarded a long time, but have recently shifted to full on glot kosher, including honoring Shabbat, being Shema Shabbos, as they call it. And that means not being open from sundown on Friday. They're going to be closing at 3 p.m. on Fridays and not opening at all on Saturdays, maybe in the summer when there's later sunsets, or actually it would be the other way around. When the sunsets are earlier in the winter, maybe they'll open on Saturday nights. I don't know, but for now, they're only going to be, serving from Sunday through Friday at 3 p.m. And they've gone full on kosher with the butchering of their meats. It makes it more expensive, but the owner, Josh, made the decision because the surrounding neighborhood has gotten so much more, I guess, Orthodox Jewish and people who really care about eating kosher and kashrut, adhering to the dietary laws. Now, Carlos went in there and did a little piece. I don't know if it's going to be appearing in some major publication like the Times or maybe a local publication, but he went in there and he gave a big thumbs up to the corned beef and the pastrami sandwiches, which when you order a Reuben or a Rachel sandwich there now, you will not get any Swiss cheese on it because as we all know. Well, no, Swiss cheese and meat. Come on, what kind of Jew are you?
Kosher, but what kind of Reuben is that? That's not a freaking Reuben.
Well,
I will go ahead and sacrifice whatever it takes to incur the wrath of God to have Swiss cheese on it. I have a friend, if you ever want to get into it, that he's very Orthodox, very very observant of every Jewish tradition, and that would be considered at the highest level of Orthodox Judaism. And he wants to come on a show and do reviews, and he will tell you the best kosher restaurants anywhere throughout South Florida. He knows them all.
All right, well, have him on
I
first.
don't know if you want to indulge in that, but if you did, especially around Yom Kippur, it might be appropriate.
Yep.
Yeah.
But he's more than willing. My friend Jack.
Maybe we'll have Carlos
strictly kosher, and he knows all of the places.
Well, there's a bunch of them, especially in the Emerald Hills neighborhood of Hollywood and up in parts of Boca, West Boca.
He's in Boca and West Boca, and he knows all of the spots.
Ditmas Steakhouse was a good kosher restaurant that I reviewed when I was at the Sun Sentinel. But Josh's Deli again, but it's a new path, and apparently it's been a successful one, been embraced by the neighborhood. And but they make a modified Reuben and Rachel now, where instead of using cheese, I mean, they're just basically piling the meat with some either sauerkraut or coleslaw, depending on which one you order, and I guess with some like horseradish sauce or something like that. But again, you can't mix the meat with the cheese in a true
Awesome.
kosher restaurant, so he's not. So that was interesting. I do want to check it out. And Carlos invited me. I don't know if that means he's
Leave
paying.
it to Frias. Here you are, a super Jew, and Carlos Frias, who I mean, just by the sound of the name, I doubt that he's been in, spending a lot of time in synagogues, and he's the guy that's scoping this out. Come on,
He
Mike.
scoped it out because he's got his ear to the ground in the Miami food scene, and that's in the Surfside and in the northern reaches of the county. But and I don't know what kind of super Jew I am. You have me confused with with pretty much anybody who goes to a temple. But oh, and one other thing before we get to our last break, not to pat myself on the back, but I can be a nice guy sometimes, Defo and Lubie.
Okay.
And this is a story of something that unfolded over the weekend on the Let's Eat group, and it's basically why Val and I went to this new place that's called the River Cafe / Emily's Garden in what used to be the OB House, the original breakfast house on Hermarshi Street, Southeast 2nd, right next to the Science Museum and near the Performing Arts Center. It opened up in the last week, October 1st, and there's a Italian chef named Diego. Now, Chef Diego, I guess, wasn't familiar with the rules of Let's Eat and that restaurateurs cannot self-promote their
Thank
own
you, bro.
restaurants. He did. He kind of put in a post saying, "Hey, we're open. Come see us." And I rejected it. And I didn't think anything of it until I wrote up a post about the new Daniel Steakhouse, which opened last night. And over the weekend, I kind of did a little preview thing and posted about how we were, had that fundraising event. And Diego chimed in with a comment on that post about, "Oh, sure, you'll be you let people promote their new restaurants if they're millionaires and wealthy and well known around town."
Good for him.
And when I saw that,
Nurse.
I
it
love
wounded me a little. But the key was it wasn't the restaurateur. It wasn't
No, it's
Thomas Angelo. It was me writing about it and Sandy Baker from PBS because they held their fundraiser there and they were, she wanted to express gratitude. So they wrote up, the Sandy and I wrote up things about Daniels. But it wounded me. So you know what I did? Within 3 hours of him posting that comment,
You wrote about his place.
I went in, we tried it. It was a lovely spot. I mean, really nicely appointed, this little dining room that they use proper plates. I mean, it's very quaint. I would say it's kind of like almost like one of those British tea parlors in there. And if they have the outdoor garden with these other food trucks, I think I spoke about it the other day, but the food was terrific. Diego was great. He was so happy when I revealed who I was, and I said, "Yeah, you wanted to kill me 3 hours ago."
What are you going in disguise, Mayo? I mean, what the hell?
No. And then he's from Puglia,
It's like
Italy.
Columbo or something when you're going to these places.
I was a little
Raincoat and
I was shaggy, but again, the soft scrambled eggs that they do on toast there was fantastic. So, again, go check it out if you want.
Nice.
It's a new spot that is worth checking out. And no, I don't only go and do things for millionaires. I like to check out every new place. And also that brings us to Camille's, which is a new Italian restaurant up in Oakland Park where we tried over the weekend Friday night. And they had this beautiful house-made fettuccine with clams. Now, the chef there, John, is from Queens, New York, and his wife, Maya, they opened up this place. He used to work at Dune, but he also used to work at a lot of restaurants in Miami and also New York. He was one of the head chefs at Macchialina, which is like a renowned Italian pasta joint in Miami Beach. And so he's making some good pastas, and we're going to do a show there later this month,
Nice.
pro bono, just to help a guy out with a new mom and pop. And that's the kind of thing I do. I'm not just for the wealthy man. Do not call me, a Donald J. Trump, where I'm just cutting the taxes on the rich. I would like to help the little guy too. So there I am defending myself when I probably just digging myself deeper and deeper.
Pretty much.
Hey, let's take our final break. Before we do, gotta also mention our newest sponsor. That's Trans World Business Advisors. If you're looking to buy or sell a business or restaurant, say you don't want to work for the man anymore, or you've been a long time operator and you've saved up enough to retire and you just had enough of the rat race, you want to give Transworld a call. tworld.com is the website where you could learn more about all their brokerage services. Again, it is the friend of any business person, whether you're looking to buy or sell. tworld.com. Andy Cagnetta and his crew, they will take great care of whatever you need. tworld.com, and tell them the Lunchbox sent you if you give them a call. All right, let's take our final break of the day. We got through this one. We're weathering the storm, so to speak, and we'll be back to wrap up this home edition of the Lunchbox after these words. Freshest fish, Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market, located at 4191 North State Road 7 in Hollywood, open 7 days. Since 1951, a South Florida tradition for stone crab in season, Thanksgiving turkeys, holiday feasts, and everyday eating. Great steaks, house-made sausage, and prepared foods, too. Delaware is not just a market, it's a celebration of taste, quality, and old-fashioned customer service with a smile. Sign up for their weekly email flyer at DelawareChicken.com and tell them Mike Mayo and the Lunchbox sent you. When the Brooklyn boy in me wants a great bagel with lox, matzo ball soup, deli sandwich, and rugelach, you know where I go? Grandpa's Restaurant in Dania Beach. It's a South Florida institution since 1957 that was revamped a few years back by a pair of New York bagel baking legends. Full deli and appetizing case with spreads, salads, and platters for takeout and catering. Grandpa's is near Federal Highway just north of Sterling Road, open 7 days for breakfast and lunch. Go eat and enjoy. It's Mike Mayo's Lunchbox approved. Prezzo Italian Restaurants. 2 locations, Boca Raton at Park Place on Military Trail, and Palm Beach Gardens in the PGA Commons on PGA Boulevard. Contemporary Italian cuisine with house-made pastas, wood-fired pizzas, salads, veal, chicken, and of course their famous focaccia bread with oven-roasted garlic bulbs. In Garlic We Trust is their slogan, and you can trust Prezzo for a great experience with gracious service and tremendous value. Open 7 days, featuring brunch, lunch, dinner, and happy hour. Great wine deals and full bar at both locations. For reservations and more information, go to eatprezzo.com. All right, we're back to conclude this edition of the Lunchbox. Before we do, I got to tell you about the Visit Lauderdale Food and Wine Festival. It's going to be here before you know it. Mid-January, right after the holidays. Go online to vlfoodwine.com to check out all the events and get your tickets now. It's going to be a great time. The grand tasting will be on that Saturday. I believe it is January 18th, along with the usual events. They have the barbecue cook-off, which is going to be held outdoors for the first time now on that Friday night. And the 17th is going to be great because live fire, real smoke. It's going to be a great competition, including some outsiders besides the locals. There's a new group out of Fort Worth, Texas that's going to be coming. Fort Worth, Texas, that's coming to compete. That's going to be great. Go online, vlfoodwine.com. Get your tickets now for all the events and activities. It's going to be great. All right. Before we go, any predictions, thoughts on baseball upcoming? The Mets look like they're in good shape. Not so much for the Yankees or the other powerhouse teams. Dodgers look to be in trouble. Phillies look to be in trouble. Defo, you have any thoughts on that?
Let's go Mets, man. Let's do it. Let's get to the next round. Great ball games. You couldn't ask for much more in terms of the action. We were talking about what a spectacular weekend it was of results, football, baseball, just about everything, college, pro. Fantastic. And today, I mean, it's a baseball fan's dream. 4 games. They all begin at 3 o'clock or thereabouts. And the Mets are the third game of the evening, about 7 o'clock tonight. So
yeah,
I'll be all in on that, man. I mean, I have strong ties. It brought out my latent Met fandom, this whole thing, and I'm hoping they wrap it up tonight. I really am.
I do too, because you don't want to go to a decisive game 5 on the road.
Well, at least you have 2 shots at it, though.
No, they do have 2 bites of the apple, and it's better to get it done in the Big Apple at Citi Field.
Let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets. And the Yankees, look, I'm rooting as a native New Yorker.
I would like to see the upset there. I really would.
Well, I'm rooting for a Subway Series, but if that's not
possible.
See,
I don't care about that. If the Mets advance, I would like to see them win, so get the Yankees out of here. And, that's a better story. The minuscule, unconsidered, lack of respect, Kansas City Royals. Nobody cared about them. If they beat the almighty Yankees, Yankee fans will get their wish, like Lubie always. I mean, he
Exactly.
roots for his teams to get rid of their people in the front office, and this may be the end for Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman if they lose this
Didn't
series.
the Mets and the Royals meet in a World Series not too long ago? Am I imagining that?
Royals won the World Series like 10, 12 years ago, something like that.
And didn't they beat the Mets?
They may have. I don't know.
I think they did.
So.
I seem to recall there was a mishandling of the bullpen, and somebody stayed in too long, and then the Royals hit a home run that ended up turning the whole series
I think Chris
around.
Chambliss hit that home run. No, that was in the
that was
in the
76.
80s.
I was at that game. I was
Yeah.
at a lot of those Yankee playoff games. But yeah, let's go Mets and everybody else. Let's send all the high price team packing. Let's get the
Let's
Dodgers
get
out
all
of
of the
there.
big shots out of here.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Padres
what were the Mets?
over the Dodgers. Mets, winning this, they were an upstart. I mean, they were the 6th seed.
Now, what I want to
in the
know,
National League.
your homework
The Mets,
assignment.
the Royals did beat the Mets. You're right.
Odds of the Mets to win the World
What
Series?
year was that? 2013?
2015.
15. Okay, so my memory is not completely
Good for
fucked
you.
up.
I
That's
know.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We thought
so-
you were a shot fighter.
Your homework assignment tonight, Defo. Tomorrow, I want to know what were the odds on the Mets winning the pennant or the World Series on Memorial Day weekend when they were.
They had to be huge. Yeah,
jeez.
had to be huge.
They had the same record
terrible.
as the Marlins, and it was at the bottom.
Nobody
of
had the same
barrel.
record as the Marlins. Get out of here, man.
I think they were close.
Yeah,
the,
remember
Mets,
The Marlins were like 0-50 at that point.
the Mets were like
we were
within a
cashing
game
on
or
the
two.
under for the season.
They were cellar dwellers, and they were fighting for last place
Yeah,
around
they
that
were
time.
horrendous.
The Mets were horrendous, and I want to know. I think you have sources that could tell me
we
were
can
the
figure it
Mets-
out.
Yeah,
Sure.
we'll look it up.
to win the World Series on May 28th or whatever it was when they were.
Well,
at
I
their
mean, you should have
nadir.
done your thing and plunged on them like you did when they were down 6-4
I'm
in
the
the ninth.
mush. They come back every time, including the time I have them, but then they didn't finish the job. So I should have taken my 40
should have
off,
hedged.
but that's all right. I'm sitting it out. I'm just going to watch them for the pure pleasure because
That'll
I'm
help their chances.
a hedonist and a sybarite. Let me see if the word sybarite is actually existing in the.
Grab a bag of Wise potato chips, Mayo, and sit back and enjoy the game. That's all
Here
you
we go.
need to do.
Sybarite, a person who is self-indulgent in their fondness for sensuous luxury. I think that describes me.
That is very much you. Yes.
I wouldn't be that flattering and use a word like that.
Sybarite. All right,
I don't
everybody.
think Gretchen would be happy if we used the word we're thinking of right now.
You could say it. We've already used the F word today.
No, it rhymes
freak
with
out of the way.
passel. Passel would
Oh,
be the
well,
word that
you know,
rhymes with.
You
Yes.
know me. I'm immune to all criticism because
No,
I
you
did-
don't care, man. You shrug it off.
Here's
You were
the thing.
fighting with Gail Kappas, for God's sake.
Here's the thing.
Fighting with her.
I dish it out, so I can take it too. So
Better
I know how that works.
I don't know. You come back and you always want to have the last word. You're one of those guys.
So we're at
I'll
bat
let-
tomorrow.
Yes, we're at Batch tomorrow.
Okay,
Weather
okay,
conditions
great, man.
permitting.
Tomorrow.
Get me some biscuits.
It should be fine. But yeah, weather permitting, we'll be at Batch.
It's going to be okay here.
It'll be
all right.
fine.
Yeah.
And but do just kind of, use a little extra caution and don't go out if there's a bad cell passing.
If you have a hairpiece and it's not glued on solidly,
I would,
don't go outside.
I would use
Don't go
caution.
outside.
All right. Well, thanks to everybody today. Thanks to Tom T for the delicious pasta jambalaya. Again, it just needed a little hit of salt.
Where was Frias on the potato chip thing? He never got back
He
in.
probably bailed. He bailed.
yeah.
Yes.
I'll have to. I'll send him a text and ask. He's probably going to come up with some. What's the thing in Miami? The Shifleys things, which are the little.
Oh yeah, those are great.
The
The,
thing that Burger Beast
the,
loves.
the,
It's
the plantain
you-
ones.
plantain chips.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're great.
that's the things that they. Put
I don't think
on
they're that
the,
good.
The Frita sandwich. Of course not. All right, that's it for today. Stay safe.